Hey guys, you got Cringe here. So, we're 3 weeks into the football season, and I'm just gonna take a look at stuff because there's some weird ass shit going on. You got certain teams that stink, teams that should stink that are pretty damn good. One week this team throttles somebody, and the next week they lose to somebody dumb, or you still have the fan favorites. You got the Chiefs that are 3-0. Buffalo, I wasn't even sure what to make of Buffalo before the season started. They're 3-0. If you ask me, they look like the best team. They just keep blowing people out. But I'm going to take a look through these. I still haven't done my video where I wanted to predict how the divisions would go. So I'm kind of setting up in a different spot now. I've got my mini football helmets are over here. I mean, I'm just doing all this with my cell phone, so I don't know how you zoom and edit and do stuff like that. So we're just gonna do it. This was my whiteboard. Normally I like to set this up with like the matchups of the week, but it's so easy to just look online at the matchups. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna predict how the divisions are gonna finish, and we'll leave that up there for the season and see what ends up happening. But first, I want to take a look at like all these teams, standing wise, and just go over some stuff. So we'll start with the AFC East. So the Buffalo Bills are 3-0. The New York Jets are 2-1. The New England Patriots are 1-2. The Miami Dolphins are 1-2. For some reason, they flip-flop the Dolphins and Patriots. Yesterday, when I looked at all this stuff, the Dolphins were in fourth, but they have them in third right now. So AFC East is Bills, Jets, Dolphins, Patriots. So, like I said, man, Buffalo looks crazy, man. Their defense, like, they just keep blowing people out. Honestly, they blew out the Dolphins. Tua got injured, but Tua played most of that game, and they still blew the fuck out of us. So, and then Jacksonville looked good against us. They kind of fell apart at the end. But Jacksonville has a solid team. They have a good quarterback. They have a good coach. I don't understand what's going on with them, but like the Bills are just blowing people out. So they got a plus 64 differential in points. The Jets, they look sluggish in that first week against San Fran. But ever since then, I mean, it was a little rocky week too with Tennessee, but last week against the Patriots, and even if the Patriots are in a transition phase, they still have a defensive coach, and they usually have a pretty decent defense, and the Jets just spanked them. I know it was on a short week. It was on a Thursday, but, what I'm seeing from New England is, yeah, they're young. Maybe they get Drake May in here soon. Kendrick Bourne comes back soon. Ramondre Stevenson had just one of those games that he never has. And, so they're young. I mean, if they're able to win 5 games, that's probably a win for them. But the Dolphins are my team, obviously. And without Tua, we just do not look good. I can't tell, honestly, though. Like, the defense, obviously, without Vic Fangio, just doesn't look right. So, and we have playmakers. Sure, we lost a couple guys. We lost Wilkins to the Raiders. We lost the linebacker to the Vikings there, that Van Ginkel. I liked him. Bradley Chubb still isn't playing yet. Jalen Phillips is back. We re-signed, I think it was Agba. That defense just doesn't. And Ramsey gets burned. He's been getting burned, and even when they do something right, like I think it was Cater Cahoe, he had the nice interception against Seattle that put us in like perfect fucking range, and they did nothing with it. And I'm not going to knock on Skylar Thompson because he played great in that Bills playoff game, but he's just not the guy. I don't know if he needs more experience or if he just gets nervous out there because he knows he needs to keep Hill happy and he's got to keep Waddle happy, and I don't know what they're doing. McDaniel's calling the offensive plays. I mean, it doesn't look good with him calling the plays, and I know he's an offensive coordinator, but I don't understand what's going on with the Dolphins this year. I was so excited to watch these guys before the season started because it looked like we were going to be Super Bowl bound, and honestly, we should be 0-3. Shouldn't even have won that game against Jacksonville. But Jacksonville's another one that just seems to implode, so I don't know. That's what we got for the East for now. They have let's no we'll move on. So AFC North, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers sitting at 3-0. The Baltimore Ravens are 1-2. The Cleveland Browns are 1-2. And the Cincinnati Bengals are 0-3. So I forgot that the Browns beat the Jaguars. I thought they were 0-3 too. So but Pittsburgh's just playing Pittsburgh ball. Justin Fields is out there. He's just managing the game. He's doing the things he needs to do. He's doing it right. The defense is stepping up like they always do. Baltimore, they've played some tough teams so far. I mean, the game against the Chiefs, they could have won that. The game against the Raiders, they should have won that. And then they were burying the Cowboys, but the Cowboys came back. They got lucky to win that game. Had they started 0-3, I mean, I don't know. That would have been disastrous. But you got to look at it. Like, the Bengals are 0-3. The Ravens could be 0-3. The Dolphins should be 0-3. So Cleveland's just they're hit or miss right now too. They have a good defense. They have offensive playmakers. They have a great coach, and it's just not. I mean, they gave up so much money to bring in Deshaun Watson. And honestly, from my point of view, they should have just hung on to Baker. They'd probably have more key pieces too because they'd have more money. So, and the Bengals, I don't understand what's fucking going on with the Bengals. I know T. Higgins missed the first 2 games and he's just now back. He's kind of probably got to work his way in for a couple weeks to get back up to par, but losing to Washington on Monday Night Football. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. Jaden Daniels balled out last night. Like, I like that kid. I think he's going to be the best of this quarterback crop, and I've been saying it since before they got drafted. My personal favorite in this crop was Bo Nix, but Jaden Daniels, man, that kid is something. He's doing his thing. It makes you wonder if Chicago should have took Daniels. I know all that hype with Caleb Williams, but Daniels seems to be the guy, and he's doing it with like a patchwork Washington team, because they did have Scary Terry, but they brought in Eckler, Ertz. They got the younger guys at wide receiver and running back. They got the new coach, so they got the new quarterback. They got rid of Howell. They got rid of Heineke. So the defense, they got rid of Chase Young and Montez Sweat, and like they lost Fuller because Fuller's on the Dolphins now, but Washington doesn't seem too bad so far. So we'll move down to the AFC South. You got the Houston Texans are 2-1. The Indianapolis Colts are 1-2. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans are both 0-3. So my thing for this week is, to me, the Titans might be the worst team in football, but I believe the Dolphins are right now. And we play each other this week. So if the Dolphins lose this game, they are officially the worst team in football, from what I've seen so far. If we can beat Tennessee, then there's hope. But I don't know. I mean, Will Levis seems to find a way every game to screw something up. But I don't know. We played Tennessee last year on a Monday night. It was a game we needed to win. Had we beat Tennessee, we win the division. Because then it doesn't come down to that final week versus Buffalo. And we're beating them 14-0. And Will Levis orchestrates some bullshit, and they beat us 15-14. So that was a huge game we needed to have. But Houston doesn't look too powerful right now either. The defense is, the offense is, obviously they have 2 wins, but I haven't seen like a crazy CJ Stroud game yet. Joe Mixon was the hero of week 1. Houston just got buried by the Minnesota Vikings, which that was one of my sleeper teams going into this season. I think Darnold over there, coming from the San Francisco system, he hasn't had a lot on his back lately, and you give him Justin Jefferson. He hasn't even had Jordan Addison yet, or Hawkinson. You know, you give him Aaron Jones, like Darnold's doing his thing right now. Can't complain. Minnesota fans, you can't complain. But the Colts, you know, obviously Richardson's still young. He only had the 4 starts before he got injured last year, so he's only up to like 7 starts now, you know, like he's still transitioning. Same thing with like Caleb Williams. There's always going to be those guys that come in and are nice right off the bat, but they're few and far between. Like Jaden Daniels, he's doing phenomenal right now. You've seen that from guys before, though, like Mahomes in his first year when he actually got out there. Like, there's always like Mac Jones didn't look half bad his first year. It depends on the team around them. So, the Bears have no excuses though. They got a good young defense. They got playmakers on offense. So same thing with the Panthers. They might not have a good defense, but they got playmakers on offense. So Bryce Young, eh, mm, so the Jaguars, I have no idea what's going on with Jacksonville. To me, they're a good team. They got good players. It's just not working out so far. Same thing with the Titans. They brought in some guys. They got Pollard. They have Hopkins. You know, they got Chig at tight end. They got defensive guys. They brought in Snead. Like, they have a team. It's just, it rests on the new coaching and Will Levis. So, I mean, hopefully they can get something going. Obviously not this week against my Dolphins, but, you know, AFC West. Kansas City Chiefs 3-0. Who would have known? It's like the Patriots dynasty all over again. You know, I'm from New England, so the Patriots should be my team. When I was a kid, though, they were shit. They were winning like 1 game, 2 games, 3 games a year. So, and this is before Bledsoe. So I started watching football. I think it was like two or 3 years before Bledsoe, and then you see them go to all these fucking Super Bowls and win all these championships, and it's like, why? If you were at least just decent when I was a kid, I would have got to watch all that shit. Instead, I'm a suffering Dolphins fan. I haven't seen them do shit. They made the AFC Championship game against Buffalo the first year I started watching football, and they got blown the fuck out. So, since then, we would always make the playoffs in the 90s, but we'd get past the first round and get fucking buried in the second round. 67-3, 63-7. Like, our last playoff win was against Peyton Manning in his 3rd year, where Lamar Smith ran 40 fucking times for 200 yards. That was the talk of the game. And then we get shut out the following week, like 27-0 against the Raiders. So, like, I haven't seen shit in a long time, but, you know, I had to go through all that Patriots bullshit. And, you know, I finally give in, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to root for them in a Super Bowl. And it happened to be the one where they played the Eagles the second time, and they lose. So I'm like, even when I try to root for them and, like, feel something good out of something, they fucking lose. So, but it feels like we're just going through that Patriots dynasty again, this time with Kansas City. I can't knock them. They're a good fucking team. Mahomes is awesome. Kelsey's not even doing anything yet. And they're winning by luck is what it feels like. They always have a playmaker that can get the job done, and that's what keeps happening. It's just always like next man up, next man up, next man up, and they win. They get the job done. Even had the Falcons got that penalty and they score there, Mahomes is still going to come up the damn field and score again, most likely. It's the Falcons were stupid. They should have kicked the fucking field goal. Then they would have been down by 2. If they stop them again like they did, they get back into range, they kick the field goal, they win by 1. But my guess is if they had gotten a field goal with the 2-point lead, Mahomes would have at least made sure he got down the field for 3 fucking points. And you know Butker's not missing that shit. So next up, it's the Los Angeles Chargers at 2-1. They probably would be 3-0 if Herbert didn't end up going out with that ankle sprain. Pittsburgh's a tough team to beat anyways, so that was one of my matchups for last week where it was like, it was a pick'em game. I ended up going with the Chargers. So that's kind of why I'm doing this video right now, because I know football, and I'm very fucking confused after 3 weeks. Like, obviously the certain teams are still there, the Bills, the Chiefs, but everything in between, it's like 1 week you're like, oh, I'll take this team, and then they get burned, and then the following week you're like, I'm not touching them, and then they kill somebody, and then the following week you're like, all right, they're back, and then they get burned, and it's like, I am just not doing very well with football so far this year. Pick wise, fantasy wise, any of that shit wise. So next up, you got the Las Vegas Raiders are 1-2. The Denver Broncos are 1-2. So the Raiders, the first week, they did not look good at all. Come the fourth quarter, I'm sitting there going, hey, put Aiden O'Connell in. Let's see what the kid can do. Second game, they go out, they beat the Baltimore Ravens. They get my boys all pumped up. My two of my best friends are Raider fans, so get them all pumped up. Then I see that they're playing the Panthers for week 3, and all I'm thinking is they're gonna fucking lose this game. They're gonna lose this game. Wasn't enough to make me change my pick. I did pick the Raiders, but I had that feeling that Carolina was gonna fucking come out and get them. And sure as shit, I mean, the score doesn't show, but Carolina was throttling the shit out of them. And I do believe they did end up putting Aiden O'Connell in. So I like O'Connell. I like Minshew. I just think O'Connell's your younger guy. Minshew is like your just somebody in the mix for now. Like, it sucks because I was hoping Minshew would have a good year. I like Minshew. But you got to go back to your young guy, get him more experience, O'Connell's not bad. So the Broncos love Bo Nix. He really doesn't have much around him, it feels like. I'm very fucking surprised that they won this past week. I forget who it was that they beat, but they won a game. Oh, they beat the Buccaneers in Tampa. That's what it was. Fucking Baker. So I'm at work, and this kid was like, should I start Derek Carr or should I start Dak Prescott? And I'm like, honestly, I'm pretty sure I told him to go with Derek Carr, and Carr had a fucking terrible game, and Dak had it was like almost 40 fucking points. Well, then I get home, and I see that the Broncos beat the Buccaneers, and for some reason I was thinking it was Baker and Dak that he was asking me about, and I told him, yeah, you should play Baker, and Baker had a fucking terrible game. Either way, both fucking guys that I would have thought I said, both had terrible fucking games, and Dak had a great game. Same thing with me. I've got Lamar on my one team, and I have Baker, and I started fucking Baker, and Lamar went off, and, the week before, I had Kamara and Mason from San Fran, and I'm like, you know what? Mason's going to do his thing again. So I put him in for Kamara. Kamara goes off for 44 fucking points. So back-to-back weeks, I made a bad move, and that's the thing with fantasy. If you have top-tier guys, like if you have a top 10 quarterback or a top 10 running back or a top 10 wide receiver, play those fucking guys. Even if they get you low points, the one time you sit them on your bench, that's when they're going to go off. So that's the lesson learned here. If you have a top 10 at any fucking position, play them. I don't give a shit. I don't care who you're putting in. All right, Denver. Denver's got Peyton. Eventually they'll come along. Bo Nix is only going to get better. Once they get some weapons around him, I think he'll be fine. You got to remember, he played like 6 years of college ball, so that he's more ready than any of these guys. But I like him because I'm an Oregon guy. I like Herbert, liked him. I actually would have rathered Herbert over Tua when they got drafted, but yeah, I never get my way. So, all right, we'll move on to the NFC. So, here's the thing. NFC East, Washington Commanders, 2-1. Philadelphia Eagles, 2-1. New York Giants, 1-2. Dallas Cowboys, 1-2. So, the funky division, where they haven't had back-to-back winners since 03-04, you got Washington at the top, Dallas at the bottom at the moment. So, Washington, they don't look half bad from what I've seen so far. Philly's like a millimeter from being 3-0, that Falcons game. And honestly, in that game, I was losing by like not even 3 points. The Falcons get that last drive, and I'm like, I just need Kyle Pitts to do something here. Touchdown would be nice, couple catches, something. I win as long as Pitts does something. So I come downstairs, I go back up. The Falcons had just won the game. So I'm thinking, oh, Pitts fucking did something. And no, he did nothing on that drive, and I lost by less than 3. So I'm still bitter about that one. The Giants, another team, just when they look like complete ass crap, they come out and they win a game. They beat the Browns. Malik Neighbors looks really good so far. He's got back-to-back weeks with, I think he's like top 3 all time with targets through 3 games. I know Puka holds the record from last year, I think it was. But somebody old school, Terry Glenn maybe was number 2, but Neighbors is number 3. There's Dallas. I don't understand Dallas. They go out, they stomp the Panthers. No, they stomped the Browns week 1. You're thinking Dallas defense, Dallas offense. They really don't have a running game right now, but then they go out, they get throttled by the Saints. So now you're thinking, ooh, Saints have just stomped the shit out of 2 people, one of them being the Cowboys. And then they go lay up a turd against the fucking Eagles. But Dallas was getting smoked by Baltimore all fucking game. They did come back. They barely lost, but hey, they were 16-0 at home over the last 2 years. They are now 0-2 at home this year. So, it's a big change, man. Bill Belichick to Dallas? Maybe. All right, NFC North, you got the Minnesota Vikings 3-0. It is surprising, but not crazy surprising. Like I said, they were one of my sleeper teams going into the year. You got Justin Jefferson on offense, you're going to be somewhat okay. As long as you got somebody that can kind of get him the ball. And Darnold, that's what he's been doing. The Detroit Lions 2-1, Green Bay Packers 2-1, Chicago Bears 1-2. I thought the Bears would be a little better, maybe 2-1. I do like the direction that team is in, but Caleb Williams is just not finding his footing so far. Keenan Allen's already hurt. Green Bay is surprising, though. They lose week 1, and Jordan Love goes down. And supposed bummy-ass Malik Willis comes over, a guy who probably had 20 fantasy points over like 10 games or something in his career, and goes out and he's just balling out for Green Bay. Green Bay's 2-0 under Malik Willis, but I believe Jordan Love is back this week. So I guess we'll have to see there, Detroit, I like Detroit. They're not going crazy yet. I'm not getting big games out of St. Brown yet. Goff, Jameson Williams has his moments. Gibbs, Montgomery still doing his thing. The defense is, I thought that they would at least be like top 5, and but eventually they'll find their footing. They're just getting ready. You got to remember the preseason is short now, and not a lot of the starters play much, if at all, in the preseason. So it's gonna take that first month of September to really get into it. But this is a wacky fucking September, if you ask me. So. We'll move down to the NFC South. You got the New Orleans Saints are 2-1. The Tampa Bay Bucks are 2-1. Both teams look like powerhouses through 2 weeks. Both teams lost last week. The Atlanta Falcons are 1-2. Carolina Panthers are 1-2. Panthers through 2 weeks, fucking blown the shit. And then all of a sudden they throw Andy Dalton in, and they're fucking crazy, awesome. Deontay Johnson looks great. Cuba Hubbard looked awesome. The Falcons, this is one of them divisions where an 8-9 win team is going to do it. So I think even though you got 2 at 2-1 and 2 at 1-2, they're going to fluctuate wins and losses all year, this division. So I expect it to still be pretty tight come the end, but somebody's got to win it, Let's see, the NFC West. You got the Seattle Seahawks are one of those 3-0 teams. They've played, I don't think they've played strong teams yet. They've already beaten up on the Patriots and the Dolphins. I forget who they beat up on in week 1, but they haven't played like the hardest teams yet. So we'll still have to wait and see with them. But then Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers at the bottom. All 3 of them are 1-2. I like the Cardinals. They don't have much of a defense right now, but they have the makings on offense with Connor and Kyler and Harrison. So, and the Rams, that's another one. I take the Niners with a 7-point spread. Even though they're down Debo and McCaffrey and Kittle, I just thought it would be a game where, like, Purdy cemented himself as like, hey, I'm one of these top guys on this team too. And he did. I mean, Juwan Jennings had a game. So, but when it came down to the end where you need to win, they let it slip away and the Rams fucking beat them with nobody at wide receiver. So, I just don't know what to make of this shit right now. So, this is just my crazy confused video to start week 4. I just wanted to do like a quick run through of some teams, and then I'm thinking maybe we should just do the divisions here real quick. So I'll move the camera up closer and we will pick some division winners here. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna start with the AFC East. I always like to start with the East, but I believe this is how the East will go. Buffalo, Jets. Do still think the Dolphins pass the Patriots. Then we'll do the NFC East next. I think Philly does end up getting the East. Dallas will climb back up. Washington might even be good enough to hit one of those playoff spots too. All right, AFC North. I still believe Baltimore wins this division, but I'm going to move Pittsburgh to 2. I do think the Bengals climb at least above the Browns. So the NFC North, I believe Detroit will come back and get this. Green Bay 2. Minnesota will be good enough to get a playoff spot though. So now we're going AFC, we'll go AFC South. It's gonna be Houston, followed by Indy. I think Jacksonville at least climbs over Tennessee. So the NFC. This division, this is a tough one. I'm gonna say Atlanta ends up with it. With the Saints, the Bucks. I do believe this will be a close division too, though. AFC West, it's going to be no surprise that Kansas City locks that up again, followed by the Chargers, the Raiders, the Broncos. So the last division, and it's still pretty close, but I believe San Fran gets back on track. I'm going to say Seattle stays up there. Arizona, Rams. So that's going to be my divisions. It's going to be Buffalo, New York, Miami, New England. Philly, Dallas, Washington, New York. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago. Houston, Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa, Carolina. Kansas City, LA, Vegas, Denver. San Fran, Seattle, Arizona, LA. Those are the divisions. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Got more videos to make, so I'll see you later.